turn this into something positive and maybe it'll spread.
He's the most positive person on his job.
Now you're cured.
I feel good.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. It has been a tough year. From the pandemic to the protests, our country is hurting. We thought we'd take a moment to pause and revisit messages that unite. Our first story is about two men brought together by hate, but their story turned to hope. It's one of the darkest days in Wisconsin history.
Calling from 7512 South Avenue. There is shooting.
August 5th, 2012.
Did you see the shooter?
6 people gunned down at the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin in Oak Creek.
Then a bald-head man, bigger build.
The gunman, a white supremacist. He was a member of a hate group started by this man.
We must secure the existence of our race.
Arno Michaelis. One of the victims was Pardeep Kalika's father.
Slowed the shooter down enough so other people could get to safety.
Sedan Singh Kalika, who founded the temple.
The last day that I saw my father was my birthday. And even at that time, he was 65 years old. I was 35 years old.
Out of the story of hate, a tale of love and brotherhood between two unlikely friends.
You want to split a squash curry?
Yeah, let's do that. We met here. We met in person.
This was your first place you met?
It was the first place that we actually
We're sitting right there.
We returned to their original meeting place, Isan, a Thai restaurant on Milwaukee's east side. Kalika contacted Michaelis wanting insight into hate. Kalika admits he almost bailed.
And as I'm watching him walk in, I'm really I'm going back and forth. I could just leave. Something just told me at the time, you came here for a reason. You went this far, now keep going forward.
Kalika did move forward. Today, the two are close friends and have formed a deep bond.
It was the first time that we stayed together in the same hotel room.
You thought I was going to kill him in his sleep.
Once we sat down and we talked and we realized, man, this is my long lost brother. And we're like family now.
When the shootings happened, Michaelis had already left the hate group, making it easier for the two to connect and share family history.
My favorite is what your dad said when he cut his thumb off in the tractor.
Oh yeah, yeah. Koi buddy galniya. He's fixing a tractor, and on the motor part, it just cut his thumb off, and it was almost like amputated the top of it. And then so he had to go back to work. He just ties it back up, and he's like, "Koi buddy galniya," which means it's no big deal.
A fitting memory for a man who died a hero, saving members of his own congregation. Michaelis admits he was an angry youth and found connection in a group that embraced chaos, violence, and hate. Today, he's a Buddhist promoting peace.
I think a very succinct definition of hate is a willful denial of compassion. There's a guy I helped to get out of the Ku Klux Klan named Chris Buckley, who had the most vicious hatred of Islam I've ever seen in my life.
Michaelis believes trauma is the basis for most hate.
The simple answer is just suffering. Fortunately, most of us have a healthy way to process the suffering that we go through in life. If you don't have a healthy way, though, there's all sorts of unhealthy ways to process suffering. And violent extremism is that ideology, and the people who are stricken by it is an example of an unhealthy way that's like actively reaching out to people who are suffering.
The two formed an organization called Serve to Unite. They co-wrote this book, The Gift of Our Wounds. They travel around the country promoting a message of unity.
When the shooting itself happened, it wasn't that we were anything special, but I think we both had that common mission of let's not have people lose hope and faith in humanity because of what this person did.
I think, honestly, the greatest gift we can give to people that we love is our genuine happiness. Somebody who's going to walk into a place like that and just start murdering people has plainly lost their faith in humanity, and they want to destroy everyone else's faith in humanity as well.
Yep.
So the first step in countering that is to refuse to give up that faith in humanity.
Pardeep admits it took a while to deal with the raw emotions after his father was killed.
I was saying all the right things about compassion and forgiveness and love because I had a communal commitment, a responsibility to say we need to say the right things for the world, because at the end of the day, I can't let this hate crime be the lasting message. But internally, you're struggling. Internally, you're bitter. and you need to be lovingly challenged out of a place of bitterness.
At the helm of their message, nonviolence.
It's easy to be aggressive. It's easy to respond to aggression with aggression. If you really want to challenge yourself, if you really want to show me how bad you are, respond to aggression with compassion. And if you don't believe it's hard, try it sometime.
Today, two men who could have become bitter enemies lead with love and humanity.
For me, just with my messed up personality, I almost do that from a place of spite. my faith is very genuine, and it's like it does come from a place of inner peace. But when it flares up like this, I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to let you shake my faith in humanity. You will never do that to me. You never break me.
The spiritual challenge that we face right now is how do we treat the ones that don't look like us, don't walk like us, don't talk like us, don't pray in the same places as us. And if my children can say, my dad created a better world for all of God's children, then I've lived a life worth living.
Arno and Pardeep are still working at it on many fronts. They're trying to ignite brotherhood and peace here in Milwaukee and all over the nation. Coming up next, we're going to hear from identical twins from Milwaukee who were accepted to more than 35 colleges. And we're going to revisit a young man who entered college at an age when most people enter high school. Welcome back. Every once in a while you come across someone with so much wisdom, you learn more about life in just a few minutes of talking to them. Now, usually, though, that person is not 14. But I met a Waukesha County teen who inspired me in a way I will never forget.
Here at Carole University, you'll find fresh-faced students eager to learn, but one young student is in a class all by himself.
I'm on a call, right? Correct.
Anthony Sikorsky, a whiz from Waukesha, who's only 14 years old.
I have an environment where everybody is committed to learning, committed to either helping students learn or the students are committed to learning themselves. Because if you're in a stimulating environment, then you're able to be better stimulated yourself.
And this teen who skipped 4 grades is undaunted by subjects like organic chemistry, calculus, biology.
Are you having any trouble with those hard classes like calculus and chemistry?
I'd say no.
Carole University biology professor Dr. Todd Levin has witnessed Anthony's thirst for knowledge.
It's so wonderful to watch him pick at all these ideas and get attached to them and learn about them. And I suspect that he's going to discover paths that he didn't know existed and none of us would have expected for him.
And his passion, well, I'd give him an A+.
He offered me the opportunity to research Lepomis sunfish. They're river sunfish. There's several endangered species actually here in Wisconsin. Sequencing their specific gene, a mitochondrial gene, and figuring out their evolutionary relationships is a combination of the things that we're talking about in class that now has an application out of class.
This brainy scholar started to read at 2 years old. Anthony's mom, Jill Sikorsky, shares.
We filled his life with books. We filled his life with classical music. We lived at the library.
Academic experts explain Anthony's brain this way.
Whatever his left side of the brain was not going to be able to figure out, his right side would be able to figure out. That he truly has the capacity to work through anything that he comes in contact with.
He was invited to the White House as a presidential scholar. This Arrowhead High School graduate is earning A's in college. And once again, he's only 14 years old.
He is profoundly gifted. He has an IQ of over 180. He's been tested so many times, but that's not what makes him special.
And that's true. Anthony's genius is just part of the story. He must fit in classwork between monitoring chronic health conditions.
He has cystic fibrosis. He also has adrenal insufficiency. He is orthostatic hypotension, which is POTS, so you can stand up, your blood pressure drops and it goes low and you can pass out. He also has Ehlers-Danlos, which is a connective tissue joint disorder, which is why he uses a power chair. And he also takes a growing shot every day because he doesn't grow.
2.5 hours a day are spent using his vest and taking dozens of pills.
This is his everyday medication. Every day he takes about 55 pills.
But don't think Anthony uses health challenges as an excuse to avoid work.
Nobody should treat me differently than anyone else in terms of academic or social affairs, that regardless of my age or medical conditions, that doesn't affect those directly.
And health issues have not diminished Anthony's spirit. He's warm, inviting, and overwhelmingly optimistic.
You have to maintain a positive outlook overall on life in spite of these difficulties. If you find at least one thing that's gone well for you in a day, then that day is a good day. There is always somebody in that area who has a worse life than you do. And if you don't recognize that, then in my opinion, you'll live a life that is close to miserable. But if you can take the things as they come in turn and yet appreciate that you have a great amount of blessings in your life, then that is the true key to being wise.
The more he talks, the more it's clear I'm in the presence of greatness.
Do you know how many people at 50 and 60 are just flailing and wandering around here, ruining other people's lives?
And despite my negative assessment, Anthony is hopeful.
Well, there's always people you could wish they made different choices, but at the same time, the entire world is not like that. It's personal choices that if we blamed everybody else in the world for our problems, then the world would be very miserable because much of the blame in many cases lies in ourselves. And if we take the effort to try and change things and show that everybody has a spark, even if it's just a small little flicker, that even if they live by a flicker, they still have a bit of good humanity left in them.
His gift is his heart, his soul, his compassion, his empathy, his love, his ability to see the good in everyone. He is also an incredibly hard worker.
Anthony hopes to become a geneticist and help other families dealing with health challenges.
My hope would be to be able to give to others some of the solace that I've been given.
He relishes in learning, but his heart drives him too. He wants to help others and he wants to give back like others have given back to him. He's just a beautiful soul.
This young man with a big brain and bigger heart is already scoring high marks in humanity.
You must base your life upon what you do have, what you don't have. So you can't reclaim what you don't have. We can't cause ourselves to get traits that we wish to have that we can't alter. And yet, we have enough things that we do have that we can't benefit from, to where it's important to focus on those. Because if not, then life has essentially no meaning.
Incredible. Now, since the story aired, Anthony has had a birthday. He's now an old man. He's 15. Well, this summer, many high school students are getting ready for college, and a set of Milwaukee twins had no shortage of options. Digital reporter James Groh has that story.
These identical twins from Milwaukee have a lot more in common than just looks.
Livingstone College, Ripton College, Chicago University, Xavier University.
Ariel and Ariana Williams were both accepted into 37 colleges and combined to receive more than $1 million in scholarships.
Honestly, we're pushing for 40 college acceptances, but we ended up getting like 37. I was like, oh man, but it's like, we still did good.
Right. The seniors at Dr. Howard Fuller Collegiate Academy had a lot of schools to choose from, but both decided on Marquette University to study nursing. 37 college acceptances means these girls are smart. In fact, they have the top 2 highest GPAs in their graduating class.
You can do anything that you want to do as long as you put your mind to it.
They will also be the first members of their family to go to college. Congrats, grads. You deserve it.
Way to go, ladies. And up next, we're going to continue another Positively Milwaukee show favorite. She's a woman who is known to many as Mom or Grandmother. Vi Hawkins shares her charm and wisdom next. Welcome back. A Milwaukee woman who advises us to smile at the world and put a positive spin on life, Vi Hawkins. She's also known as Miss Vi, and she has reached thousands of youth through service, mentoring, and mainly love.
80-year-old Vi Hawkins radiates warmth. She seizes hearts and helps young souls soar.
Spiritual, inspirational, tough, she's caring, she's exciting, she's full of wisdom.
Chiquita Henderson was 14 years old when she met Miss Hawkins. Tremaine Glass was 15 years old. They will share powerful stories in a moment. But first, let's step into the world of a woman known to many as Mom.
This is where I keep myself on the right track.
One of the most enduring sights in Vi Hawkins' home, this memory wall, several hundred photographs documenting people in her life.
You know so many different people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
It's a collage of a life well lived.
What is your secret for being so vibrant? You have such a spirit of just buoyancy that I don't see even in teenagers.
Well, because I tell them I'm a little crazy.
Vi Hawkins has been a community advocate for decades. She was part of the historic marches with Father Grappi calling for social justice in the 60s. She's feisty and charming.
I tell young people that God didn't make no jump.
This vivacious grandmother has been volunteering for 55 years. Her service includes the American Red Cross, troop leader, Cub Scouts, voter registrar, and pollster for the city of Milwaukee. She's been a board member for the Milwaukee County Department of Aging, Interfaith Older Adults, Revitalize Milwaukee, Milwaukee Times newspaper, and that is an abbreviated list.
I don't go out and preach no sermons or anything like that, but I tell them about a better life, how to achieve a better life.
Vi Hawkins is grassroots, a modern influencer who molds the old-fashioned way.
I call myself walking the highways and byways like I figured that Christ did.
She's like a sculptor who has carved out wisdom, knowledge, compassion, common sense, and tough love.
I don't worry about being their friend. I worry about telling them how to make a better life for themselves.
People can tell that you genuinely care.
Yeah.
Now back to Chiquita Henderson. She first met Vi Hawkins at a summer job program at Lapham Park Housing.
She poured so much out of me.
Chiquita gets emotional thinking about the impact of the woman she calls Mom.
That's where I am today.
She saved your life.
She saved my life. God put her there at that time for me at the age of 14.
But when Chiquita was named team leader, she learned an important lesson from her second mom.
Mama suspended me. I said, how dare she suspend me?
She didn't give you any breaks.
She didn't give me no breaks. She said, when you are in a leadership position, you're not to be friends with the people you work with.
And Henderson is just one of many teenagers who found their voice through Vi. Tremaine Glass now owns his own IT business. He's upgrading equipment at the Skybox Sports Bar. He was eager to talk about Miss Vi, who he met when he was only 15.
You know, Mrs. Hawkins, instilled in me that you have to, go out for what you want and don't be afraid to, come across challenges.
Recalling the impact of Vi Hawkins, he chokes up.
Miss Hawkins, all I want to say is, thank you for not giving up. And you not just did a lot for me, but you did a lot for everybody else.
That makes you emotional.
You know what, it's okay. It's just that's how much she has done for not just me, but for everybody else.
2 lives transformed by Vi Hawkins, but her mentoring magic reaches older adults as well. I first met her back in 2010 reporting on the Jazzy Jewels, a dance troupe she founded.
Is there any advice you can give to other older people who might need a little inspiration?
You're not dead yet. It's simple as that. And say God gave us life. What we do with it is our gift back to Him. So we need to get out there and let the world know that we are still valuable.
Staying active is a vital part of Vi's message. Her home is filled with trophies from volleyball, softball, bowling. Honors and awards are endless. And wow, is she organized. Let's just say her affairs are in order.
Okay, so Vi, you have already written your own obituary? Are you serious?
Yes, I have.
Now that is the queen of organization.
So shall I live, so shall I die.
Oh, you have your program?
Yeah.
Your program for your funeral?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And it says Viola
Viola L. Reiser Hawkins, 1939, no date.
No, that's right.
So that's what you're going to have on your tombstone?
Yeah.
Of course it is. But let's get back to living. Despite a hip replacement, knee replacement, and spinal fusion, Hawkins is still moving and helping others rise.
My purpose is to be like Mom, or, to get into other people's lives too and tell them the truth and show them love.
Like the love and guidance she showed Tremaine Glass. He tells me he will pass that on to his own 2 children.
What do you want your kids to think of you as?
It's all about the community. It's all about not just helping yourself, but there's so many people out here that need help.
Vi Hawkins, leaving an indelible imprint on past and future generations, a symbol of the power we all have when we use our gifts to glorify others.
I say God gave us the gift of life. What we do with it is our gift back to Him.
I love you so much.
What a special woman. Vi, by the way, was a stay-at-home mom for many years. She didn't even start working until she was in her 40s, so think about that. I'll return with my inspirational quote of the week. Each week, I like to leave you with words of inspiration. This week's quote comes from famed anthropologist Margaret Mead. She said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe and stay positively Milwaukee.